Here at Ronin Pro Wrestling in South Florida, here at Pembroke Pines, Broward College Gym, the living legend, WWE Hall of Famer Larry Zbyszko is here. And Larry, what's it like for you? You're down here in South Florida, you get to be a part of this Ronin show. Just what's it like being involved with something like this?
Well, for me it's fun. I mean, I don't do it a lot, but once in a while it gets me out of the house. It's fun to meet the fans. You know, at these kind of shows, you have a chance to get up close and personal. You know, whether you're watching the matches up close or getting to meet guys like me or Steamboat or other guys. So, you know, it's kind of a good energy, you know, to look at people's faces, and it's like they saw Bugs Bunny, and so it's fun, you know, once in a while getting out.
Larry, what was it like for you being inducted into the Hall of Fame and your involvement off and on with WWE now?
Oh, well, the Hall of Fame, you know, it was really a moment I'll never forget, and I can't even explain it. But when I walked out, you know, the idea I had in my mind of what I was going to say had nothing to do with what I said. I went into a different dimension out there. I remember looking at, you know, there was people I knew for years, and I remember going off, and I don't remember a thing I said. The next thing I knew, I was going off, and Arnold was grabbing me saying, "That was the greatest speech I ever heard." And Vince grabbed me and said, "You were in the moment, that's what I wanted." And I went blank. I didn't remember what I said. I mean, I'm talking about going into a different dimension. And whoever was talking to my body was out here. It was really an experience. It was cool.
And also now your involvement, the WWE Performance Center is near where you are up in Orlando. Well, what's it like for you having some involvement off and on with that?
Well, it's fun, you know, and you get emotionally involved because you see these young people, and they all got the same dream I had. And they all know nothing yet. But they want to learn. So, I mean, so now I'm getting a chance because it's so close, and the NXT's film right there. So, you know, I can go down and hang out with them, and I can pass on some knowledge. And so it's fun for me. We'll probably get involved more. We'll see what happens.
That knowledge, I have to go back to Shea Stadium. Huge. I mean, now we see the WrestleManias and the crowds they're drawing, but at that time, back in the 70s, you and Bruno Sammartino had the main event at Shea Stadium, drew a record number crowd. What was it like for you being involved in that and seeing the type of crowd attendance that it drew?
Well, back then, I mean, you know, before, you know, the nationwide TV, it was just a territory. And back then, too, wrestling had that kind of stigma where you never heard about it on the news. When they talked about sports, you never talked about wrestling. And that particular feud with me and Bruno at that time, and we didn't realize it at the time, but the world was about to change. And that feud got so big and hot, people freaked out. I mean, it was so big, the Garden couldn't hold enough people. So, you know, we took it to Shea, which in those days was unheard of. And even Vince McMahon Sr., I mean, you know, he had to think twice about it because it's his butt on the line. He was the one renting Shea Stadium. So if it bombed, I walked away and he, you know, went off to the poorhouse. But, you know, but everything was so hot and so, but in those days, I mean, to walk out, and what it actually did at that time was it caught the attention of the news. And now they go, "Hey, Shea Stadium sold out tonight, but it wasn't the Mets." And then at that time, nationwide cable started. Ted Turner had to have it on TBS USA, had to have it because Shea Stadium, you know, got in the news and got all these new cable, you know, TV excited about it. So the business was a, you know, natural television business, and it was perfect for the new nationwide cable that was about to begin. So if you look at Shea Stadium now, it's a marker where the old school era ended and the new era, the early 80s, with the characters began and the business kind of changed. And now they're at a point where another era is ending and the new global networks start. So it's an interesting time.
Larry, thank you so much for sharing some memories, and congratulations on all your success.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks for still being here.
And good luck on the golf courses, too.
Thank you.
Florida legendary referee Bruce Owens here at Ronin Pro Wrestling number 7. Bruce, what's it like working with Ronin Pro Wrestling? You've worked for many years. You've been up and down Florida. What's it like here at Ronin?
Well, the one great thing about Ronin is the locker room's good. There's a lot of great talent. We're bringing in talent from all over. One of the greatest things I think you'll see is the performance of the workers is great. And, you know, when you see that, that's what sells tickets. You got to put some asses in the seats. And if you don't do that, people aren't going to come. Obviously, despite the rain today and the downpour, the building's half full already before we started, and it shows that the people are loyal.
Bruce, what do you enjoy about doing this?
Gosh, after 37 years, you know, it's hard to go with. You know, it's I guess camaraderie in the locker room. And most important, the fans, because without the fans, there is no locker room. I've been fortunate, you know, after 37 years to see, you know, 2-3 generations of families. You know, they started watching me when they're little. Now they've got kids, or they're bringing their grandkids and their kids. So probably the longevity and the fact that a lot of the fans are still loyal to wrestling down here in South Florida.
Bruce, have you able to give any advice to anybody that wants to be a referee? So many people want to be wrestlers when they come into the business, but do you find anybody coming up to you and just ask you, hey Bruce, what should I do here? I'm interested in becoming a referee, or I am refereeing. Do you get anything like that and give any feedback?
Yeah, I get some feedback. My best advice is always be in the wrong place at the right time, because that's what the referee's job really is in this business. And stick the corner, stay on the way, because the most important thing is you can't crowd the workers in the ring. You simply can ruin a match by being in the wrong place, you know, that wise. I guess the thing that's kind of important for people to understand is either you're committed. A lot of people want to just be a referee and then they'll become a wrestler. You know, the most success I've seen is people that really want to be a referee and stay as a referee. And not saying that a lot of us haven't, you know, became a referee then wrestled or something early. That's more in the territory days. Nowadays, you know, you decide what you're going to do. I mean, if you're sitting there and you're, you know, 150 pounds or 170 pounds, you're going to be a referee now and probably forever, you know. But it takes a commitment. You got to understand. You got to go in early. You got to put the ring up, tear it down, and do all that. Once people find out that they just don't get to go to the ring, and they've got to do other things like put it up, tear it down, you find out who's loyal and who's not. And a lot of times they walk away and they don't want to be a referee. They're just out there for that. Let me step in, get a floor, and walk away. It doesn't start that way, you know. I mean, I drove around putting up rings for a long time and always had my gear, and a lot of times I never worked the show. But I put the ring up, I took it down, and sometimes, you know, you got to work and sometimes you didn't. But I would say the loyalty to what you really want to do. If you want to be a wrestler, if you want to be a manager, if you want to be a referee, you got to decide what you really want, because if it's not what you want, you're not going to be good at it.
And Bruce, finally, for you then, what made you decide to become a referee?
Mine was really unique because, you know, I started off as a photographer and I was hauling the boys, and next thing you know, a timekeeper died at Miami Beach Convention Center. I ended up being the bell ringer, and after that, we started running double shots. So then I became an announcer. And after becoming an announcer, the next thing was, okay, I'm up.
Go, go, go. Florida legendary referee Bruce Owens here at Ronin Pro Wrestling 7, Broward College Gym in South Florida, Pembroke Pines. Bruce, everybody knows you. Fans know you, wrestlers know you, everybody in the back, everybody in the front. What made you become a referee?
Well, first of all, they know me, Jim, because I owe people a lot of money, so I'm well known. But besides that, let's get back to wrestling. I got into being a referee kind of ironically in reverse. I was a photographer, did some work, and after that, I was an announcer. Florida was getting busy. We were running double shots, so they needed 2 announcers. I became one of them. And quite frankly, I got tired of carrying the suits and having to iron them and everything at the arenas back then. So I ended up talking to Michael Hayes and Dutch Montel. They were booking and co-booking in Florida at the time. I said, what do I need to do to be a referee? They said, what do you know about refereeing? I said, nothing. They said, you're the perfect ref. Show up in Orlando. And basically they told me, you know, be in the wrong place at the right time, stick to the corners. Anybody's about to hit you, always go left, that way you don't collide. And ironically, my first match was a Broadway, Dale Vesey and Mike Golden, and they said, you can't screw it up. And I said, man, I'm really nervous. So I went out there, and the match ended as a draw, And instead of raising both guys' hands up, I jumped out of the ring and left them standing there looking at each other and looking at me. And 25 years later, I ran into Michael Hayes again at the American Airlines Arena. The very first show was wrestling there. And I was working that card, and I went over, and obviously my hair was a little shorter now than it was then. And I said, "Excuse me, Mike, I don't know if you remember me." And he says, "Yeah, you're the only guy to ever F up at Broadway." So, that's kind of the one thing I had to my criteria. Ran into Dutch Mantell later on the TNA show. That's, again, like 15, 20 years later. I say, "Dutch, I don't know if you remember me." Same thing. So I got a little reputation of being probably the only guy screwing up a Broadway, of leaving both guys standing in there. And the problem was it was TV. So, that was a little expensive, But
they always remembered you, Bruce.
Yeah, I was remembered. And then, God bless Gordon Solie. He found a way to cover to make me look like I had some place to go, So, but I love being a referee. I love the interaction with the guys, the gals, the fans. As always, you see me, I try to pick a few people out and get them to participate, because you know what, if they're a star, then they're going to tell their friends and family, and they start bringing people with them. And at the end of the night, what we all want to do is have great athleticism, everybody perform, be safe, and not get killed. And we want to make sure that the fans got their money's worth. If they pay $10 for a ticket, we want to make sure they got $20 worth or more. And at the end of the day, it's good and wholesome entertainment. I mean, we're not doing the stuff that's crazy, and you can bring your family to these shows, and that's the important thing. It's a good, clean product. It's hard fighting. Everybody works hard, but at the end of the day, you'll never be embarrassed to take your children, your mother, your father, or anybody to the matches.
And Bruce, I'm going to throw one at you, because I wanted to ask you this. The referee shirt. Is there a special place you go to get your referee shirts?
Yeah, eBay. eBay, I don't know. I used to buy them at these expensive places, then I found out about this thing called eBay. So, it's kind of crazy, because I'm one of the older guys, being 61. My first job, I was a waiter at the Last Supper, and I'm one of the few people to have an autographed copy of the Bible personalized to myself, so.
And they didn't have eBay back then, Bruce.
Yeah, no, they didn't. So sometime I'll show you the autographed copy of the Bible, and it's personalized to me,
All right, Bruce, thank you so much.
Hey, Jim, it's an honor and a pleasure. I'm glad you keep the coverage going for us South Florida Wrestling.